I never imagined I would stand in front of an empty house, the walls stripped bare, the pictures gone, the furniture sold off to strangers, all because of the boy I once cradled in my arms, the boy I swore I'd protect no matter what. My name is Linda, and this is the story I've never told anyone. Not my friends, not my sisters, not even the people at church who kept asking why I looked so tired, so hollowed out. It started on a cold January morning just after the holidays. The twinkling lights were still up on the porch, but inside, my heart was sinking fast. I didn't know that when I answered that phone call, it would change everything. I didn't know that within weeks I'd be pawning my wedding ring, selling my late mother's heirlooms, and handing over every last dollar just to cover debts I never made. Debts my son was too ashamed to tell me about until it was almost too late. There's a sharp kind of pain that comes when you realize your love alone can't save someone. I kept thinking, where did I go wrong? Was it that time I yelled at him after school? Was it when his father left and I didn't notice how lost he was? Or maybe it was something I'll never understand. But here's the part I haven't said out loud until now. Even after giving up everything, even after emptying my life for his, I still lost him in a way I never expected. And I need you to hear this, because maybe you know a mother like me, or maybe you are her, sitting up late at night, wondering if you're about to lose the person you love most. If this story touches you, if you've ever felt the heartbreak of sacrifice, the sharp edge of abandonment, or the quiet, aching hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll get a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world, and together, maybe we can remind each other that we're not alone in this. I stand by the window, the glass cold beneath my fingertips, watching the Christmas lights on the porch blink softly in the early evening darkness. There's a weak spot in the string, one light that keeps sputtering, flickering, threatening to go out entirely. I can't help but see it as a sign. I know the electric bill is overdue. I know any moment now, the house will slip into full darkness, and it feels like my life is slipping right alongside it. The house is quiet, too quiet, in the way only an old, worn house can be when the people inside it have disappeared, when the warmth that once filled its rooms has faded like the smell of a long-forgotten meal. I run my hand across the bare mantel where the family photos once stood. There was a time when I lined them up carefully. Ethan at 5, grinning with his missing front teeth. Ethan at 12, awkward and lanky, his arms slung around me at the state fair. Ethan at 18, cap and gown, eyes full of something I now realize was already drifting away from me. But the mantle is empty now. Everything is gone. The pictures sold at a yard sale I never imagined having. The furniture gone piece by piece. The dining room table I once scrubbed crayon marks off of. The old couch where Ethan used to sprawl on lazy Saturdays. Strangers came and took it all away, handing me small wads of cash I clutched with trembling fingers, knowing it still wouldn't be enough. And Ethan, he hasn't been home in 2 days. I call his phone again and again, but it goes straight to voicemail. The sound of his recorded voice, "Hey, it's Ethan, leave a message," makes my throat tighten until I can barely breathe. I leave messages I know he won't listen to. "Baby, please call me. Just let me know you're okay. I love you." Over and over. Then a knock at the door. I jump, heart pounding, hope flaring for half a second. Maybe it's him. Maybe he's come home. But when I open the door, it's a stranger, clipboard in hand, eyes avoiding mine. His voice is flat, rehearsed, telling me the house is officially scheduled for auction. He's just here to deliver the notice, just doing his job. I nod numbly, taking the paper, my stomach twisting hard enough to make me bend over slightly as the door closes again. In the kitchen, I stare at the paper. I know the date marked in red. I know the meaning of the words I barely read. My fingers trace the lines as if they'll change under my touch, as if my sheer will can stop the world from tilting further. Later that night, I sit alone in the dark, the only light coming from that weak string of Christmas lights still flickering outside. My hands tremble in my lap. I replay our last conversation in my head. Ethan promising, "I'll fix this, Mom, I swear." But he didn't. I close my eyes, tears slipping hot and silent down my cheeks. I whisper into the emptiness, a question that feels like it could break me. "Where are you, baby?" It was still dark when the phone rang, that heavy, unnatural sound that slices through the quiet and makes your heart stutter in your chest. I fumbled for it on the nightstand, barely awake, a tight coil of dread already pulling through me. Maybe it was Ethan. Maybe he was finally calling. Maybe, but it wasn't his voice. It was a man I didn't know, deep and cold, the kind of voice that doesn't care who's on the other end. "Ethan owes us." That's all he said at first. I blinked, tried to sit up, tangled in the sheets, the words slow to sink in. Owes them? I didn't understand. "Time's up," he added flatly, like it was just another business transaction, like they were settling a bill at a restaurant. I tried to speak, but my throat closed. I gasped out, "Please, wait, I just need to—" But the line went dead. I sat there, clutching the phone, listening to the silence that followed. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. My knees gave out when I stood, and I had to grab the edge of the kitchen counter to keep from collapsing onto the cold tile. My heart hammered so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts, but the panic flooded in anyway, thick and suffocating. How did we get here? I wanted to believe I'd done everything right, or at least enough. I was there when he fell off his bike, when he lost his first tooth, when his father walked out the door and left us alone. I was there when he got his first job, when he brought home his first girlfriend. Sure, we fought. What mother and teenage son doesn't? There were slammed doors, long stretches of silence, words we both regretted but never took back. But underneath all that, wasn't there still love? Wasn't there enough? I grabbed my phone again, scrolling through old contacts, calling names I hadn't dialed in years, his old friends, boys who used to eat dinner at our table, girls who used to come over after school. "Have you seen Ethan?" I asked, my voice cracking, desperate. But the answers were all the same. No one knew. No one had seen him. No one even sounded surprised he was gone. I sat down in the kitchen, the cold seeping through my thin pajamas, wrapping around me like a second skin. My hands twisted together in my lap, nails digging into my palms. I stared at the silent phone on the table, waiting for it to ring again, dreading it would. My mouth moved without me meaning it to, whispering the words into the empty room over and over, like a prayer I didn't know how to finish. "Please, Ethan, don't do anything stupid. Please, baby, come home." The house creaked softly, settling into the dawn, and I sat there terrified, knowing something had cracked wide open inside my life, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to fix it. I packed the last of my wedding china carefully, my hands trembling slightly as I wrapped each delicate plate in old newspaper. It feels less like packing and more like burying, as if with every plate I seal away, I am folding another part of myself into a box, never to be seen again. I pause over a small saucer, one with a tiny chip along the edge. I remember the day it broke, how Ethan, just a toddler, had pulled it off the table by accident. I'd scolded him softly, but I remember laughing too, because he was so earnest, his little eyes wide with apology. I set the saucer in the box, the past folding in on me, heavy and relentless. At the pawn shop, the man behind the counter barely glances at my mother's locket before sliding a few crumpled bills across the scratched glass. His eyes flick to me once, disinterested, and I wonder if he sees it. The ache under my skin, the way every item I lay down feels like cutting away another thread holding me together. Outside, I catch my reflection in the pawn shop window. For a second I stop, startled. The woman staring back at me looks worn, her face lined with exhaustion and worry. There's a hollowness in her eyes I don't recognize. I lift my hand to the glass, almost as if I can touch her, pull her back into myself. But the cold surface meets my fingertips, unforgiving. Back home, the silence is unbearable. Every creak, every shift in the old house makes my heart jump, thinking it's Ethan at the door, Ethan coming home. But the door never opens. My phone stays stubbornly silent on the table. I pick it up anyway, scrolling through old photos, my thumb trembling as I trace the shape of his smiling face on the screen. There's one photo I can't stop staring at. Him at 10, missing his 2 front teeth, his arms flung wide as if the world was his. I wonder where that boy went. That night, sleep doesn't come easy. When it finally does, it comes in jagged fits, pulling me under only to leave me gasping awake again. But somewhere in the early hours, I dream of him. Ethan as a little boy, running toward me, his arms outstretched, his laughter bubbling up in the golden afternoon light. I kneel, catching him, spinning him around until we're both dizzy with joy. Morning slams into me like a slap. The dream fades, leaving only the cold emptiness of my room, the sharp edge of reality cutting through the haze. I reach for my phone immediately, hope flickering. But there's nothing. No messages, no missed calls, no sign of him. And so I sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, asking myself the question that gnaws at the edge of my heart. How do you keep believing in someone when they keep disappearing? At the grocery store, I keep my head down, moving through the aisles like a ghost. The shelves blur in front of me. Canned beans, stale bread, things I can't afford anyway. My hands tremble as I clutch the few crumpled bills in my coat pocket, knowing it's barely enough for milk and bread. I tell myself it doesn't matter. I'm not hungry. I haven't been hungry for days. Then I feel it, a presence, someone watching me. When I turn, a man stands at the end of the aisle, scruffy, jittery, his eyes darting too quickly, like a moth trapped against glass. He walks up slowly, and before I can move away, he says softly, "You're Ethan's mom, right?" The words punch the air out of my lungs. My heart stutters, pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. "You know where he is?" I whisper. My fingers clutch the edge of the cart. My knees threaten to give out. The man smiles, but there's no warmth in it. "Maybe," he says, his voice low, "but it'll cost you." Desperation claws at me, rising sharp and fast. I pull out the last of my cash, the small, crumpled bills I'd saved for groceries, a pathetic handful of hope. My hands shake as I press them into his. "Please," I beg, "please, just tell me." He nods, sliding the money into his pocket like it's nothing, like it's less than nothing. He scribbles something on a napkin, an address, scrawled hastily, the ink smudging under his thumb. "Go here," he murmurs. He's been there. And then he's gone, slipping down the aisle, leaving me standing alone, the napkin burning in my hand. I race to my car, heart hammering so loud it drowns out every rational thought. As I drive, the streets blur past, headlights streaking through the windshield. My hands grip the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turn white. I whisper Ethan's name over and over like a prayer, like a lifeline. "Please be there, baby. Please." The address takes me to the edge of town, past shuttered shops and boarded-up homes. The house looms in front of me, its windows shattered, the front porch sagging. It's empty. I know it even before I step out of the car, but still, I go. My boots crunch on broken glass. The wind cuts through my thin coat, sharp and merciless. I stand on the crumbling porch, staring at the door hanging from its hinges. I shout his name, once, twice, again, my voice cracking, breaking, shattering in the cold night air. "Ethan!" But there's no answer, just the wind and the empty windows staring back at me like hollow eyes. I sink to my knees, fists clenched at my sides, the napkin crushed and useless in my pocket. The night swallows my cries, and I realize, with a deep, gnawing ache, that I'm still alone, completely achingly alone. I sit at the small kitchen table, the one piece of furniture I couldn't bring myself to sell, a cracked mug of cold coffee beside me. The house is silent except for the occasional creak of the walls, the soft groan of old wood settling in the cold night. I clutch a pen in my shaking hand, staring at the lined paper in front of me. I've been here for hours trying to summon the courage to write the words that have been choking me for months. "Dear Ethan," I begin, though even the words look foreign, too formal for a son I once rocked to sleep in my arms, too heavy for the boy I once tucked in with whispered stories. My hands tremble as I press the pen to the page, and before I know it, the words spill out, raw, jagged, messy. I write about the nights I lay awake, my body stiff with worry, eyes fixed on the ceiling, waiting for the sound of the door, for the jangle of his keys. I write about the prayers I whispered into the darkness, bargaining with a God I wasn't even sure I believed in anymore. Please, just bring him home safe. Please, just one more chance. I write about my own failures, the things I never admitted out loud, the way I snapped at him when I was tired from work, the way I missed the signs, the subtle shifts in his mood, the moments he pulled away, the buried grief of a father who left us both too soon. I tell him how sorry I am, over and over, as if filling the page with apologies might erase the years of distance between us. The tears come hot and fast, smudging the ink, bleeding the words into blurred shadows on the page. I press my palm to my eyes, swallowing a sob, feeling the ache of exhaustion pull at every part of me. Still, I write. When I'm done, I leave the letter on his pillow, smoothing the sheets with trembling fingers. I imagine him finding it someday, reading it slowly, realizing, maybe for the first time, just how much I loved him, how hard I fought for him, even when he didn't see it. I wonder if it's already too late. That night, I sit by the window, staring at the door, my heart leaping at every small noise. At one point, the wind rattles the handle, and I rush to the door, breath caught in my throat. But there's nothing there. Just the empty night, just the cold air slipping through the cracks. I wrap myself in his old sweatshirt, the one he left slung over the back of a chair weeks ago. It still smells faintly of him, that mix of soap and boyish cologne, and I bury my face in the fabric, clinging to it like it's the last piece of him I have. My chest tightens painfully as I whisper into the darkness. How do you forgive someone who keeps breaking your heart? The knock shatters the silence like a hammer to glass. I jolt upright, heart slamming against my ribs, mouth dry with terror. For a split second, I'm disoriented, clutching at the thin blanket tangled around my legs. I glance at the clock, 2:43 a.m. Nothing good comes at this hour. My mind races. Did Ethan come home? Did he forget his key? Did he... The pounding comes again. Not a soft knock, a hard, urgent, authoritative pounding. My stomach drops. When I pull open the door, 2 police officers stand on the porch, their breath visible in the cold night air, their faces set in careful, practiced sympathy. "Ma'am, are you Linda?" one asks. I can barely nod. My legs feel numb, as if the floor beneath me has softened into water. I grip the door frame. I already know. Some part of me already knows, before they say the words. "We found your son, Ethan. He's at St. Mary's Hospital." My knees nearly give out. I choke on the air, my mouth opening but no sound coming out. They don't tell me what, but the looks on their faces, the careful, measured tones, tell me enough. He's alive, but he's not okay. I don't remember driving to the hospital. I don't remember parking or running down the long white corridor that smells of bleach and despair. All I remember is bursting into the cold, sterile room and seeing my boy, my Ethan, pale and still, hooked up to too many machines, wires snaking across his chest, a thin tube taped to his arm. His hand feels cold when I take it in mine. I squeeze it gently, whispering, "Mommy's here, baby. I'm here." The words come out in a rush. Apologies I can't hold back. Prayers I barely remember how to say. I promise him everything. "Just stay, please. Just don't leave me. I'll fix this, I swear." The doctor comes in, a woman with tired eyes and a voice like a faraway echo. I catch only pieces of what she's saying. Overdose? Critical? We're doing everything we can. I nod, though I can barely process it. All I can see is Ethan. Not as he is now, but as the little boy with scraped knees and wide, trusting eyes, the boy who once ran to me for every hurt, every fear. The hours pass like a strange, distorted dream. I sit by his side, counting every beep of the monitor, every flicker of light. I memorize the shape of his face in the dim hospital light, the rise and fall of his chest under the blanket, the faint twitch of his fingers. I don't know how to survive this moment. I don't know if I will. I lean closer, pressing my forehead to his hand, whispering again and again, "Come back to me, Ethan. Please, just come back." Ethan stirs under the thin hospital blanket, his eyelids fluttering open, slow and reluctant, like a child pretending to sleep so he won't have to face the consequences. For a moment, his eyes dart around the room, disoriented. The harsh white walls, the beeping monitors, the smell of antiseptic, and then they land on me. But he doesn't meet my gaze. His eyes slide away, heavy with something I recognize too well. Shame. I shift forward in the stiff vinyl chair, aching to reach for him, to tell him it's okay, to tell him we can fix this. But the words lodge in my throat, sharp and brittle. It's okay, but it's not. The words feel hollow, thin as tissue paper, no matter how hard I try to wrap them around us. I tuck his hand in mine, his skin cool and unfamiliar now, and I wonder when was the last time I really touched him like this. When he was small, I knew every part of him. The tiny freckle on his left ankle, the cowlick on the back of his head, the soft patch of skin behind his ear where he liked to be kissed goodnight. But now, sitting here, I feel like I'm holding a stranger. His voice, when it comes, is barely a whisper. Mom, it's worse than you know. The words hit like a gut punch. I grip his hand tighter, but he flinches, just slightly, and I pull back, wounded. He tells me, haltingly, painfully, about the debts, about the people who are still looking for him, people who won't stop just because he landed in a hospital bed. My chest tightens, my breath catching somewhere between anger and despair. I want to scream. I want to shake him, demand why he didn't tell me, why he let it get this far, why he let me sell everything for a fire that was never going to be put out. But all I do is cry. Silently, beside his bed, my shoulders trembling as I press a fist to my mouth to keep the sobs from spilling out. I wonder if he knows, really knows, how much of myself I've poured into trying to keep him afloat. Every heirloom sold, every bill I put off, every night I sat in the dark with the weight of fear pressing down on me. And yet, here we are. The space between us feels wider than ever. Even as I sit right next to him, holding his hand, we are on opposite sides of a chasm I don't know how to cross anymore. He turns his head away from me, closing his eyes, his face turned toward the wall. I feel it like a slap, the sharp sting of rejection all over again. How many things have we left unsaid, Ethan? And are they the very things that built this wall between us? I press a shaking hand against the cold window pane, feeling the brittle wood frame beneath my fingers as I hammer another board across it. The hammer slips once, nearly catching my thumb, and I flinch, biting back a gasp. Outside, the wind rattles through the empty trees, their bare branches clawing at the glass like fingers. I can't stop looking over my shoulder, heart pounding in my chest, ears tuned to every sound, a car door slamming down the street, the soft scrape of footsteps on the sidewalk, a low engine humming too long outside the house. I know they're out there. Whoever they are, whatever they want, they know where we live now. Inside, Ethan paces like a caged animal. His phone buzzes over and over, the vibrating sound grating against my nerves. He runs a hand through his dark hair, yanking at the roots, muttering to himself under his breath. I want to reach for him, pull him close, hold him the way I did when he was a little boy with skin knees, when I could still kiss the pain away. But now he's twitching, anxious, pacing toward the door like it's a magnet pulling him out, pulling him away from me again. His jacket is already halfway on, his fingers tapping at his phone screen so fast they blur. Ethan, I whisper, my voice cracking, please stay, please let me help you. He pauses, just for a breath, his eyes darting toward mine. For a split second there's something there. The boy I know, the boy I raised, the boy I love with every beat of my heart. But then he looks away, shaking his head. I have to fix this, Mom, he says, his voice raw, almost panicked. I have to handle it. Handle what? I want to scream, but the words die in my throat. When he disappears into his room, I grab the phone, calling everyone I can think of. My sister, old friends from church, even the neighbor who used to babysit him. No one answers. No one calls back. The silence on the other end of the line feels heavier than I can bear, pressing against my chest like a stone. I wonder if I'm the only one still trying, the only one still clinging to the hope that I can save him, bring him back from whatever edge he's teetering on. Hours later, when the house has gone still, I creep to his room. His bed is empty, the window cracked open, the cold air slipping in. On his pillow, a crumpled scrap of paper. My fingers tremble as I unfold it, reading the scrawled words that slice through me like a knife. I'm sorry, Mom. The room spins, the floor tipping beneath me, and all I can do is sit on the edge of his bed, clutching the note to my chest, whispering to the empty room, "Where are you, baby? Where are you going?" I wander the streets with no real plan, no map, no sense of where I'm going, just the gnawing ache in my chest that won't let me stop. The city feels colder tonight, the kind of cold that sinks into your bones, that wraps itself around you like a punishment. I move through alleys, past shelters, past corners I never thought I'd see, let alone search through. My hands are shoved deep into my coat pockets, but they're still shaking. Every shadow feels like a threat. Every silhouette makes my breath catch. I pass other women, mothers I know just by the look in their eyes. Some waiting by buses, some cradling babies in their arms, some standing on porches staring into the dark. Their faces are pale, lined with the same quiet fear that runs through my blood. I can see it in their clenched jaws, their darting eyes, the fear of love slipping away, of hope evaporating one breath at a time. We glance at each other, but never speak. We're mirrors, passing in the night. On a park bench, I see a figure hunched forward, shoulders slumped, face buried in his hands. My chest tightens. My heart races so fast it's painful. For a second, I'm sure, it's Ethan. I can almost hear his voice, almost feel his presence. But when I step closer, the boy looks up, and it's not him. Just another lost soul, someone else's child. I sink down onto another bench nearby, too exhausted to keep walking. The cold cuts through my clothes, and I shiver hard. I stare at the empty playground, swings creaking slightly in the wind, the slides slick with frost. I remember when Ethan was small, when his laughter would ring out across the yard as he chased fireflies, his small legs pumping as he tried to outrun the dark. I close my eyes, and for a moment, I can almost hear it again. That innocent, high-pitched giggle, that pure joy. But when I open my eyes, the only sound is the low hum of traffic, the far-off wail of a siren. The night presses in on me, heavy and suffocating. I hug my arms around myself and wonder, was love ever enough? I thought I could save him with love. I thought if I just held on tightly enough, if I just kept believing, I could pull him back from whatever edge he was teetering on. But maybe love isn't the lifeline I thought it was. Maybe it's just a thread, fraying in my hands. I tilt my head back and look up at the stars. My breath fogs the air as I whisper, "Please, bring him home." My voice cracks on the last word, and I feel a deep, aching emptiness inside. The kind of emptiness that no amount of searching can fill. The kind of emptiness that knows deep down that maybe, just maybe, it's already too late. It's late afternoon when the door creaks open, the sound sharp in the stillness. I freeze, heart hammering so hard I can barely stay on my feet. And then he's there, Ethan, standing in the doorway, gaunt, hollow-eyed, his shoulders hunched like the weight of the world is pressing him down. For a split second, neither of us moves. I think I stop breathing. His face crumples first, and then I'm crossing the room so fast my legs nearly buckle. We collide, mother and son, arms wrapping around each other so tight, it's like we're holding ourselves together through sheer force. There are no words, none that matter, just his trembling body against mine, his tears hot on my neck, my sobs shaking both of us as I whisper over and over, "You're here, you're here, you're here." We sink to the floor, tangled in each other, and for the first time in weeks, maybe months, maybe years, I feel like we've hit something real. Not rock bottom, no. We passed that long ago. But something deeper, the place where grief meets the thinnest thread of hope. His voice is raw when he finally speaks, halting, ashamed. Mom, I need help. I pull back just enough to look at him. His face is pale, eyes bloodshot, lips chapped, skin stretched thin over bone. But beneath all of it, I see him, my Ethan, my baby, the boy who used to run into my arms after school, the boy I rocked to sleep when he was sick. I cup his face in my hands and nod, tears blurring my vision. We'll figure it out, I whisper. We'll figure it out together. We sit there for a long time, surrounded by the wreckage of what used to be our home, the empty shelves, the bare floors, the hollow echo of a life that got stripped down to nothing. But I realize as I hold him close that I haven't lost everything, not yet. I still have him, and somehow that has to be enough. We start to make a plan, small, shaky steps, a counselor maybe, a program, finding a way to rebuild, even when there's nothing left to build on. I know we're nowhere near healed. The road ahead is long, uneven, terrifying. But we're still here. We're still breathing. And in this moment, that feels like the greatest victory of all. This is what love looks like. Not perfect, not easy, not wrapped in pretty words or neat endings. It's relentless. It's messy and painful, and sometimes it nearly breaks you. But you keep showing up anyway. You keep holding on. If this story touched you, if you've ever loved someone so much it nearly tore you apart, if you've ever stood in the wreckage and wondered how you'd go on, please, like this video, leave a comment, share your own story, and subscribe to the channel. Your voice matters here. None of us should walk through this kind of pain alone.